Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kansas City Chiefs Cheat Sheet pregame show. I'm Darren Smith, along with my co-host, Mr. Steve Walls, the host of the W. On the W Show, of course, you can catch him on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. on 101.1 FM. And, of course, you can catch me every day, Monday through Friday, ESPN Kansas City, 94.5 FM, 1510 a.m., along with, of course, the ship on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Steve, we are back here live at Arrowhead Stadium, hopefully for the Kansas City Chiefs, a sign of safety and comfort. Of course, there is safety in numbers, but of course, Kansas City coming off of the 36-35 Sunday night loss to the Baltimore Ravens, return to Arrowhead where they hope to find a victory in today's noon matchup with the Los Angeles Chargers.
You know what? I'm feeling about as good as Travis Kelce's yellow cleats and yellow gloves look, man. I'm feeling like sunshine today here at Arrowhead, and it is a sunshiny day. But, if the Chiefs are not able to figure out a way to get a win today, they'll find themselves where they do not want to be, and that's in last place in the AFC West. And look, I know Chiefs fans are like, I know it's early. But still, it's been a long time. I mean, they're third right now in the AFC, behind, of course, the Raiders, who are in first, and then following the Denver Broncos. Who would have thought? A year after Drew Lock has been placed on the bench. But I think today is going to be a great day for Chiefs fans.
Well, that's what the hope is. Of course, the Chiefs have won the last 3 of the last 4 ball games against the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers, of course, won Week 17 last year against the Kansas City Chiefs, and in that particular game, of course, Andy Reid sat Patrick Mahomes, sat Travis Kelce. He also sat Tyreek Hill. Just going into the playoffs because they already had the home field advantage secure, but Justin Herbert, who was the NFL Rookie of the Year, he still has a win underneath his belt, regardless of whether or not Patrick and them were on the field. He does have a victory here at Arrowhead against the Kansas City Chiefs, and that is something that he can build off of coming into today's matchup.
Yeah, I agree. And here's the deal: the Chiefs are going to be without Frank Clark. They're going to be without, which is now a late scratch, Chris Jones. Chris Jones is in. We thought Chris Jones was not going to play. Of course, Frank is out with the hamstring issue.
This is the other hamstring now.
The other hamstring. So it's like, man, what is really going on? You're making more money than anyone else on the team, and so without you out there, it's kind of just like, it's a hair scratcher. It really is. I mean, you missed the first game last week. Of course, you were back in and didn't really do much. You didn't contribute to the loss. So now it's just like you don't want to get on Chiefs fans' bad side. That's one place where you do not want to be. We've seen other guys that have gotten that way, but this is just a mind-boggling thing for me.
One of the things that we'll have to understand, have to come to some sort of understanding, is that Patrick Mahomes and his offense, as much as Andy Reid seems to be not receptive to it, they're going to have to run the score up to be secure and to actually walk away with a win. Look, we've talked about it before. Not Patrick, but Travis last year said that he feels that the offense can score 50 points a game. Mm-hmm. But we know even scoring 50 is not enough if your defense is as bad as Kansas City's defense has been over the last few years in Patrick's career. Obviously, the first 2 ball games, they've given up on average about 240 yards on the ground rushing. Last week against Baltimore, they gave up 251 yards on the ground and almost 500 yards of total offense to the Baltimore Ravens. We've talked to Spags this week. He actually came into the presser this week upset, knowing what we were going to ask him. But here's the thing: Tyron said even on social media, Spags is a good man. He's a good coach, but he can't go out there. He's not making the tackle. That's up to the players. Again, it's one thing for the players, Tyrann Matthews admitting that they probably needed an ass kicking. It's another thing for Darren Reid to say that they're pissed. It's another to be able to transfer that anger and stuff on the field in today's ball game.
Correct. And here's the thing about it. Andy Reid came out this week and said that he talked to the team and they just have to be better. I think there's a little bit more to it. You have a guy, in particular, Juan Thornhill, who is, I would say, one of the best athletes on the defensive side of the ball, and he gets 11 snaps in last week's game. I'm not sure if there's something going on, whether he's regressed.
I think he's in the
He
doghouse.
played the full game week one. They came out with the win. Everyone said that he started out a little slow and then got better as the game went on. So I'm just not really sure what's going on with Juan. Of course, Andy Reid said that Juan and Daniel Sorensen, they give pretty much the same kind of deal thing when they're out there. They're the same type of player, and I'm like, I don't really see that. I know Daniel Sorensen, he's a veteran in this league. He's always seems to be in the right spots. However, I just don't understand it. Juan seems to be, to me, the best athlete that they can have on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, as I mentioned before, it seems as though he's in the doghouse. Coaches have their favorite players. People have asked me today, even coming up in here, why is Dan Sorensen getting all the snaps? I mean, I just have to go off of what Andy Reid said in our presser that, I mean, Sorensen had a better training camp than Juan did.
Yeah.
Now, and look, they have both made plays in the ball games. Obviously, Sorensen in last Sunday night's game had a big sack on against to Lamar Jackson. I think in the second half of the ball game. Obviously, Juan Thornhill in the first game caused a fumble to Nick Chubb that kind of turned things away. And of course Sorensen had the trip up of Baker Mayfield that caused him to throw the interception. So both players are making plays. According to Spags, it's just the packages that they called in last week's game dictated that Sorensen would be in there more so than Juan Thornhill. But no excuse, be that as it may.
Yeah, no, not
I mean,
one.
there's still, I mean, you should as a coach be able to feel the flow of the game. And if coming out of that game you see where Sorensen leads the league in missed tackles, that should tell you something.
It really should. And you know what Juan Thornhill gives you. He played in the Super Bowl. He played a lot of minutes in the 2019 Super Bowl. So I'm just not sure. I know he's coming back, off the injury, and it's just it's mind-boggling, man. It's like the Frank Clark deal. You pay so much money to these guys. You want them to be out there. Of course, I know Juan is still on a rookie deal, but I'm just not sure about that. And then on the flip side of that, you talked about the offense having to come out and outscore teams. They have to figure out this offense because you have a lot of teams that are looking at what happened in the Super Bowl and that Tampa Bay put on tape, and it's like, all right, we found a formula that is able to beat these Chiefs. It's cover two, no blitz, make Patrick Mahomes stay in the pocket and don't get beat deep. That's just it. We're gonna allow Clyde Edwards-Helaire to run the ball. Chiefs need to run the ball. They have to figure it out. They have to figure out a way to get Clyde the ball in space and let him make a move, one and done. He did that at LSU, and I think that's his strength. So that's what they need to go to. We've yet to see a screen, to Clyde this season. And that's one of the things is like, are you holding back or what's going on? It seems like you want Clyde to be this big bruiser and run up the middle. That's not Clyde's game, and I really believe Andy Reid needs to understand that.
This is the Chiefs cheat sheet. Darren Smith, Steve Walls, live from Arrowhead Stadium. We are inside the press box, so the noise you hear is the press box announcer giving updates at the moment. But we are almost 30 minutes away from kickoff. Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. Both teams coming to today's game with a 1-1 record. The last week against the Dallas Cowboys, the Chargers fell 20-17. This Kansas City 36-35 loss to Baltimore on Sunday Night Football. Steve, now
what's interesting before
yeah, go for it.
What's interesting about that is the Raiders will hold the tiebreaker over the Chiefs if it stands as it is, and the Raiders come in here and beat Kansas City and
because they're
head against Baltimore, and that's not a position that you want to be in late in the season because the Raiders feel like they can beat the Chiefs, whether it's at home, whether it's here at Arrowhead. I mean, they did it last year, so that's just not a position where you want to be in. So this game is very critical. As minimal as it may seem, this big game is very critical.
Yeah, and I mean, again, the Raiders are a team that needs to be respected. Basically, those wins that they have, those are two good wins that they have. One at home against the Ravens, the other on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who Kansas City will have to face later on this year. And they do have a good running back. Now, granted, the offensive line isn't much of anything, but by the time December comes around, you never know. Look, Justin Herbert, he's 62 of 88 thus far after two games, 675 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Here's the thing. I'm not sure looking at this, Travarius Ward is going to be out. So I expect an air attack from both squads. Obviously, we know Patrick is going to have to, he's going to have to score points in today's game. Whether or not they cover the point spread, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I do see a high scoring affair. I do see Austin Eckler because he is an every down back. I see him having a big role in today's game. Just basically, you have to convince the Chargers that the Kansas City Chiefs defense can stop the run, and B, you have to be able to stop them. And look, Herbert also has, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. He has outside serious threats out there that he can throw the ball to. And look, he's got a good tight end as well that I wouldn't hold anything past. So Kansas City, basically defensively, they have their work cut out. And when you have three of your starters on defense, Frank Clark, Chris Jones, as well as Travarius Ward that's out. That's going to put a lot of pressure, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on Tyrann Mathieu as well as the quarterback of that defense to make sure that he's got his players in the right position, got them lined up properly, and make sure that they can make the plays.
I believe Chris Jones is playing today.
I
He
thought,
was
I'm sorry, I thought he
initially
was a
supposed to
late
be out.
scratch.
Yeah, he is playing. So
Okay,
still no Chris Jones, still no Travarius Ward.
you
However,
mean Frank Clark?
No Frank Clark, no Travarius Ward. But here's the thing: last week it was kind of one of those circumstantial deals where you have a quarterback who is not looking to throw the ball. So when you think about the blitz and when you think about the sacks, last week is kind of one of those outliers where it's like I really don't want to judge that they weren't able to get after Lamar Jackson because the offense that the Baltimore Ravens runs is somewhat of a complex deal where you have the RPO run pass option where Lamar Jackson he can throw the ball, he can run the ball, or he can hand it off to the running back. So it's like, all right, you really aren't going to be able to blitz a guy who's not looking to throw the ball. So today, I think it's going to be one of the key days. It's like, all right, Chris Jones, what are you made of? Are you going to continue to be on the outside, or are you? Right now, he's ranked 33rd as a defensive end, which is man, middle of the road NFL, middle of the road. When he was on the interior, he was ranked top 5.
Yeah.
So now it's like, all right, this is where you have to make your money in this type of ball game.
Look, I'm not gonna lie. I was a little shocked at Chris Jones's performance last week, especially when you moved Villanueva from the right side to the left side. Granted, that's his natural position, but because he had such a bad time against the against the Vegas Raiders, you thought that Chris Jones would have a field day and at least if nothing else be able to switch sides to attack them at their weakest point. But be as it may, one of the matches that I'm looking forward to as we look at the offensive side of the ball for Kansas City is to see whether or not they put Asante Samuel Jr., whose father played for the Patriots back in the day, whether or not they who they have him lined up against. Now last week Tyreek Hill only had 3 catches, I think, for 14 yards. He was triple coverage throughout the game. So Byron Pregame and DeMarcus Robinson, they both had touchdowns, their first ones of the season for them respectively. Travis Kelce, of course, had 2 touchdowns. What can we expect from the Kansas City offense? Again, we know they're going to have to score points, but how much time do you think they will dedicate trying to establish the run between with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and this offensive line?
I think that the Kansas City Chiefs offense, Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, they're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place in this game. Justin Herbert is a gunslinger. He can come out there and put points up on the board. He's averaging about 300 yards per game passing so far this season. No, it's still early, but that's still a big deal. So you want to establish a run game, but then again, you need to get up because your defense is kind of they're not even hobbled. They just haven't produced so far this season. So I'm interested to see, will they try to establish that run game? I just don't see it. If they are able to march 11, 12 plays down the field, score the ball, then the Chargers come out here 3, 4 plays, come down, score the ball, you're going to find yourself in a dogfight. And I think the Chiefs really need to get up 2 scores to be somewhat comfortable. just because of this defense that they have. Now, we talked about the getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire out in space in the screen game. I really feel like he's a capable enough running back to be able to get out and catch passes. Now, what he did at LSU kind of mimic that. You work to his strengths. You don't want to work to where you're putting him in a bad position. And right now he's averaging what is it 2 yards, two
Yeah.
yards per carry? That's not good in the NFL.
Not at
You were
all.
you were a first round pick by the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that has won 2 Super Bowls and that got rid of a player who was arguably I would have said that Damian Williams was in the running for NFL MVP. I mean, not NFL MVP, but Super
Super
Bowl
Bowl MVP.
MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got rid of that guy, and now he's with the Bears, and it's like, all right, Clyde, what are you gonna do? You need to make sure that you're able to show up and show out.
Yeah, look, his stature, his size has always been something that worries me because when he runs to the hole, he's not pushing, the defenders back. It's like if he hits someone, he's falling backwards. So again, that's something that is a cause for concern for the most part. But Byron Pringle and DeMarcus Robinson and McCole Hardman, to their credit, they've been the number 2 receivers by committee, so to speak. How impressive have you seen their play the first 2 weeks? Because in my opinion, I think that you know they've been trying to take advantage of the opportunities that's been presented to them. Look, I've told the story talking to DeMarcus at the barbershop one time last year that he thinks that he could be 1,000-yard receiver, but of course Patrick does like to pass the ball around. But of course his main option is Tyreek and Travis. But as I said, with the subtraction of Sammy Watkins, somebody should be able to step up and fill that void. Because here's the thing, even if it's by committee as a number 2 wide receiver, the fact that if Patrick can, as he said, he has the confidence, but if he can throw each of them the ball, along with Kelsey and Tyreek, that eases the stress from them and puts more stress on the defenders, because now Patrick has 5 people that he can toss to at any particular time, and you don't know how to go about defending that type of offense and those type of weaponries.
I agree, and here's the thing. Even asking Patrick earlier this week, it was like, all right, it seems to be that you guys have more fun, and the game comes a lot easier when you're able to get more guys involved. And he said, of course, I mean, each guy is able to do their own certain thing. Of course, you have Travis and Tyreek, who are top in their positions in the NFL. And then you have Byron and Miko, who I saw Miko make a post the other day, and he said it's all about team. Yeah, it's all about team until it's a contract year and until money comes into play. But here's
All
the
about
thing.
teaching you fumble that football. Like, it
Yeah,
wasn't
true,
me.
true that. But here's another thing. It's like you want to get involved. We saw what Byron's been able to do. We haven't seen Miko get to the end zone yet this year. Everybody needs to pull their own weight. It's kind of like family. You want everybody to be able to pull your own weight. You don't want one person to be bringing home the bacon and the other person sitting on the couch with their feet up. No, you need to be along for this ride, and let's make it work. And I think that is one of the things that's been stressed this week.
One of the players that we haven't talked about yet, who actually had a sack against Kansas City last year around this time when these teams faced off in Los Angeles, is Joey Bosa,
Mhm.
defensive end. He's had 4 sacks in his last 3 games on the road. What will look? What's he? Granted, he's going to be going up against, it seems like, Orlando Brown today. But if he decides to move around and gets on the opposite side with those rookies, what do you think he's going to find
Oh man, this is gonna
besides
be this
violence?
is gonna be interesting. He was, of course, he was. We thought he was gonna be questionable all week. We really didn't think he was gonna play today. Of course, he's playing today, but I don't think he's going to be a key factor going up against Orlando Brown. Orlando has shown that he's able to make it work. He's serviceable out there in in the blind spot, right? So I think Orlando is he'll be able to make something happen today. Of course, I would say, and I know somebody don't at me on this, but I would say that the Cleveland Browns defense is much better than the LA Chargers defense. That's just me. And Orlando Brown, what did he do? He went out there and didn't allow a sack until late. So I think today is going to be a piece of cake for him.
Now, Kansas City, they've averaged 34 points in their last two ball games. Of course, it was 33 and then 35. The Los Angeles Chargers, they're only averaging 18.5 points a game. Now, again, they hadn't played the Kansas City defense just yet, so so that average might go up today. We got about 5 minutes or so left before we have to shut down because of the pregame festivities and stuff. But be that as may, Steve, what are you looking for? Well, what do the Chargers need to do if they were to come into Arrowhead and pull off an upset win today?
The Chargers need to come out here and just play fearless. The Kansas City Chiefs have been the big brother for what 12 out of the last 14 years that they've 14 games that they've played.
Yeah.
So don't get big brothered out here. Come out here and let them know that this is a new Chargers team who is not afraid to put up some points, and they're going to have to put up some points. Just going back and looking at the score, as I mentioned, over those last 14 games, the Chiefs haven't won a game over the margin hasn't been over 10 points. So I think that kind of fares the Chargers a little bit, wouldn't you say?
It keeps them in the ball game, and with the Chiefs defense, it allows a team to stay in the ball game.
Yeah, and so I think that the what needs to happen is they need to come out here and score points. And if they're not able to get to the 30-point mark, it's going to be a long day for the LA Chargers.
Well, and obviously that's the key. The key is I think it might have just been the Indianapolis Colts is the only team that didn't have to score 30 points to beat Kansas City. But I think Patrick was kind of hobbled in that game as well. But be that as it may, for the Chargers to win, yes, they're going to have to score 30. We've seen where Kansas City, just in last week's game, they only had the ball for 24 minutes out of 60. And granted, they scored 28 on offense and a pick 6 on defense. So they were able to score 28 points within a short amount of time. For the Chargers to win, they obviously, to me, they need to run the football, take advantage of a especially when you know that Frank Clark and that front line has been decimated basically just at the line of scrimmage. If you can beat them at the line of scrimmage, you got a chance to move the ball because when your safeties are leading the team or leading in tackles, that means that they're getting through the first couple of lines of defense, and it's taking the defensive backs to kind of bring everybody down to stop them. So that to me is what they would need to do. Obviously, they can do the play action. They can do some screenplays. They can fake the handoff and get the ball to either the Eckler and the flats, of course, Keenan Allen or Mike Williams. But I expect a big statistical day from Justin Herbert for the Chiefs. What do they need to do to win this game and to make sure that they don't walk out with a nail?
You know what? It's funny that I knew you were just going that direction, but I believe that this team needs to come out here and just play as if they were in 2019. What is so different? There's nothing that this team needs to change offensively. I understand there's a different running back. I understand that you have 5 new offensive linemen, but nothing from the scheme wise should be different from what you did in 2019 when you made the Super Bowl run. And I know you're not going to come out here and surprise anyone like you did before, but all this new stuff and what you're trying to do this season and what you did last season, go back to. They have to prepare. You made the Super Bowl for 2 years in a row. I would say go back to that first year. Until if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's the saying, right? So I just don't think that you need to come out here and do anything differently.
Well, keep a couple things in mind. On that run to the Super Bowl, they had gotten the players back healthy going in 2019. So, this
and we just talking about the offense. We're not talking about the defense. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So okay, but offensively, yeah, I'm with you. They they really don't have to do anything. This offensive line, they've gelled. Thus far, fingers crossed. Knock on wood. No injuries or anything like that. So they've grown together. Andy Heck has done a great job in getting them together. Getting them to learn the scheme and playing as one together. So I trust him. I actually trust the rookies more than Orlando Brown and Joe Tooney because they are playing with some extreme violence when they go out there making these blocks and knocking these players on their behinds. I'm loving the way that they do because there's always a clip of something that Trey Smith or Creed Humphreys or Lucas Niang are doing. Look, Orlando Brown, he's been serviceable thus far. They didn't give up a sack last week against Baltimore in their defense. So credit goes to to where it's due. For
Before
me,
before you move
yeah.
before you move on, I just want to say one more thing about this offense. I'm not with the fact that people are trying to put Patrick in this box where you need to you're going to go out there and get injured, or you need to stay inside of the pocket. I feel like he just needs to go out there and play ball. You got to remember the best football that this team has played is when it was kind of an impromptu type deal, where Patrick was out there on the run, the receivers have gotten loose. We've seen and we've talked to other teams, cornerbacks who say it's impossible to cover a guy for the amount of time that it takes to get to cover a guy on this Kansas City Chiefs team with Patrick out there running around. So I just feel like he doesn't need to really stay in the pocket. He needs to get out there in space and make a play, which is normally what we've seen. Last week, I think it was one of those an anomaly, so to speak, where he was trying to get the ball to Travis Kelce, and it caused the interception. But I think he more often than not he's been able to make that play. We've seen the left hand play, we've seen the scoop throw, we've seen some no look throws. I mean, let him go out there and be him.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's fine. Defensively for Kansas City, they just have to make sure that they don't that they protect the red zone. When they get down there. Right now, they've given up touchdowns on 8 of 8 possessions that the opposing team has had within the red zone for Kansas City. I think offensively, look, they just need to just continue to score the ball, continue to put points on the board. Don't worry about whether or not it looks like it's run the score or anything like that. You need to make sure that you can secure a victory. And we saw last week, and just going back to 2018 when you and we were in Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
the Kansas Chiefs scored 51 points, but they gave up 54.
Yeah.
So I mean that's something that
That's always a bad deal.
Yeah, that's a bad deal. So we see the Los Angeles Chargers coming out on the field. So look, Steve, before we get out of here, your prediction in today's game.
Look, I think this team is going to come out here with the vengeance. This defense is, playing upset. I really believe that they're going to come out here and put up some points. Defense is going to clamp down and show you why they deserve to be still the number one team in the NFL. So my prediction: 35-21 Chiefs.
Well, look, Kansas City, they just have not been able to cover the point spread. I think it's going to be much closer than that. Obviously, with Frank Clark and Travarius Ward last week, they gave up 36 points. Without them, they could possibly give up more. I think this game comes down to the wire. Kansas City wins it by 4. I got them winning, I think, 34-30 in today's ball game. So, yeah, I got it close, man.
Write it down.
I think
I wrote it down. Take my
yeah,
notes.
I think this is the deal where Kansas City wins the game, but I think the Chargers cover the points. So, but in my parlay though, I do have them going over. I didn't touch, I did Chiefs money line, and then I had other points going over. But be that as it may, Steve, who you wearing today? Shout out to your sponsors.
I want to quick, mention to my guys over at Dillard's on Arosa. Contact them. Go out there and check them out. If any of your young folks are getting ready for homecoming, and I was in there shopping this past Friday and Saturday, and they were selling out of everything. I mean, ties. You had your suits flying off the shelf, and I want to talk about my suit that I have on today. It's Perry Ellis, the Perry Ellis brand. Normally, I like the Murano, Perry Ellis, all those different brands, but they also have women's line. Go out there, ladies. I know we're guys talking, but ladies can go out there and get outfitted as well.
And of course, for me, as always, I want to give a shout out to Todd White of Todd's Clothier and Tailor Suits. You can go by a store off of 21st and Broadway, or over at Ward Parkway off of 82nd, 83rd and State Line. So want to thank everyone for tuning in today. Of course, want to make sure that you all, get your pregame game day needs. If you feel like eating, 75 years going strong, Ollie Gates and Gates Barbecue. Make sure that you stop by there. Let them know Steve and myself, Darren Smith, sent you all out there. And, before we go, we got a little message from Mr. Gates himself.
Hi, Ollie Gates here. The Gates family would like to say thank you for allowing us to serve you for 75 years, a milestone which would not have been possible without your support. Thanks again, and remember, whatever the case may be, keep the faith.
Gosh, now I'm hungry for some Gates, Steve. So, be that as it may look, we will join you all post game. We'll bring you the Chiefs post game presser on our respective social media outlets. So make sure you tune in. And until then, and next week we'll be in Philadelphia as the Chiefs take on the Philadelphia Eagles. So until then, until next time, thank you all very much. If it's Sunday, besides Meet the Press, it is the Chiefs pregame show with Steve Walls and myself. And also make sure you join us tomorrow night at 6:30 live from the Saray Oyster Steakhouse down on 18th and Vine, where we bring you the Red Hour as well. Steve?
Out of here.